Today we're tackling a topic that's absolutely critical for anyone serious about being prepared, but it's also something most people get wrong. We're talking about storing water. You might think, how hard can it be? You just fill up some jugs and stick them in the garage. Well, if that's your plan, I'm here to tell you that you might be setting yourself up for a nasty surprise when you actually need that water. The truth is, storing water safely for the long term involves a bit more science than you'd expect. From the type of container you use to the temperature of your storage area, every detail matters. So if you want to make sure the water you've stored is safe, clean, and drinkable when an emergency hits, stick around. We're about to debunk some common myths and give you the definitive science-backed guide to storing water the right way. Let's start with the absolute #1 mistake people make: using the wrong containers. I see it all the time, people reusing old milk jugs, juice containers, or those flimsy disposable water bottles you buy at the gas station. Here's the problem with that. Milk and juice jugs are nearly impossible to clean completely. The proteins and sugars from their original contents can leave behind microscopic residue that becomes a breeding ground for bacteria. Even if you rinse them out really well, you're risking contamination. Plus, the plastic used for these types of containers is designed to break down. It's not meant for long-term storage. Over time, it can degrade, become brittle, and potentially leach chemicals into your water. Think about it. That plastic is designed for a single use and a quick trip from the store to your fridge, not to sit in a basement for 5 years. So, what should you use instead? The gold standard for water storage is food-grade plastic. You need to look for containers specifically designed for this purpose. The key is to check the recycling symbol on the bottom. You're looking for plastics labeled number 2, which is HDPE or high-density polyethylene, number 4, LDPE, or number 5, PP. These are stable, durable, and won't leach harmful chemicals into your water. You can find these as large blue water barrels or smaller stackable water bricks. They're often opaque, which is another crucial feature we'll discuss in a moment. Glass is also a great option, like old canning jars, as it's non-porous and won't leach anything. The main downside is that glass is heavy and of course breakable, which isn't ideal in a chaotic emergency situation. For most people, high-quality food-grade plastic containers are the best all-around choice for safety, durability, and convenience. Now let's talk about the water itself. Do you need to treat it before you store it? This depends on your water source. If you're using municipal tap water from a reliable, treated source, like most of us in cities and suburbs, then good news. Your water already contains a residual amount of chlorine, which is a disinfectant. In this case, you can typically store it directly in your clean food-grade containers without any extra treatment. The existing chlorine will help keep it safe for at least 6 months to a year. However, if you're using well water or any other untreated source, you absolutely must disinfect it before sealing it up. The last thing you want is to be storing a container full of invisible bacteria, viruses, or parasites. So, how do you treat it? The simplest and most reliable method is using regular, unscented household bleach. Make sure the active ingredient is sodium hypochlorite and that it doesn't have any added soaps, scents, or other cleaners. The ratio is key. You want to add just 2 drops of bleach per quart or liter of water, or about 8 drops for a gallon. If you're treating a large 55-gallon drum, that's about 1 teaspoon of bleach. After adding the bleach, seal the container tightly and shake it well to distribute the disinfectant. Let it sit for at least 30 minutes before you store it away. You should be able to smell a faint chlorine odor. If you can't, add another small dose and wait another 15 minutes. This simple step is non-negotiable for untreated water. It ensures your emergency water supply is a source of life, not a source of sickness, okay? You've got the right container and you've treated your water correctly. Now, where do you put it? The storage location is just as important as the container itself. The 2 biggest enemies of stored water are light and heat. Sunlight, specifically UV radiation, does 2 bad things. First, it accelerates the degradation of plastic containers, even food-grade ones. Over time, it can make them brittle and more likely to develop leaks. Second, and more importantly, light encourages the growth of algae and other microorganisms. That's why the best water storage containers are opaque, usually a dark blue color. This blocks out light, and keeps the inside of your container dark and inhospitable to algae. If you're using clear containers, like soda bottles or glass jars, you must store them in a completely dark place. You could wrap them in black plastic or store them inside a dark closet or a sealed box. Heat is the other major factor. You need to find a storage spot with a cool, stable temperature. A basement, a cool closet, or an insulated garage are all good options. Avoid places like an attic, a garden shed, or a non-insulated garage in a hot climate. Why? High temperatures can speed up chemical reactions, potentially causing more chemicals from the plastic to leach into the water over time, even with food-grade plastic. Heat also creates a more welcoming environment for any bacteria that might have survived the initial disinfection. Ideally, you want to store your water in a location that stays between 50 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, or 10 to 21 degrees Celsius. Consistency is key. A place with wild temperature swings from hot to cold is also not ideal, so find a cool, dark, and stable location. This will maximize the shelf life and safety of your water supply. Let's quickly recap the biggest mistakes we've covered so far. Mistake number 1. Using non-food grade containers like milk jugs. Mistake number 2. Failing to treat untreated water from a well or spring. And mistake number 3. Storing your water in a place that's too hot or exposed to light. But there's one more common error I see preppers make, and it has to do with rotation. Many people go through the effort of storing a huge amount of water, and then they just forget about it for 10 years. Water doesn't technically expire in the way food does, but its quality can degrade. Chlorine in treated municipal water will dissipate over time, usually within about a year. After that, there's nothing left to inhibit bacterial growth if any contaminants manage to get in. Even with properly treated and stored water, it's best practice to rotate your supply. A good rule of thumb is to replace your stored water once a year. This might sound like a lot of work, especially if you have large barrels, but it's the best way to guarantee freshness and safety. An easy way to manage this is to label every container with the date you filled it. Then set a recurring reminder on your calendar. When the time comes, don't just dump the old water down the drain. Use it to water your garden, wash your car, or flush your toilets. Then clean your containers thoroughly with soap and water, rinse them out, and refill them, following the same sanitization process we talked about earlier. This annual rotation ensures that your water supply is always as fresh and safe as possible, giving you true peace of mind. So what does the perfect water storage system look like? Let's put it all together. First, you've invested in high-quality, opaque, food-grade plastic containers, like the stackable bricks or a 55-gallon drum made of HDPE plastic. You've cleaned and sanitized them before their first use. You've filled them with water from a reliable municipal source, or if you're on a well, you've carefully added the correct amount of unscented bleach to disinfect it. You've sealed the containers tightly to prevent any outside contaminants from getting in. You've clearly labeled each one with the date it was filled. And finally, you've stored them in a cool, dark, stable environment, like the back corner of your basement, away from any chemicals or gasoline that could permeate the plastic. And you have a reminder set in your phone to rotate this water out in 1 year. This is the gold standard. It's not about just having water, it's about having water you can trust your family's health with. The goal of prepping isn't just to survive, it's to thrive through a difficult situation. Having a contaminated water supply would turn a challenging scenario into a life-threatening one. Dysentery, cholera, giardia. These are diseases we rarely think about, but they become a real threat when sanitation systems fail. Your stored water is your lifeline. Taking these extra steps, choosing the right containers, treating the water properly, storing it correctly, and rotating it annually, is one of the most important investments you can make in your family's safety and well-being. It's the difference between simply hoping for the best and being genuinely prepared for the worst. I know this might seem like a lot of information, but it's really straightforward once you get the hang of it. To summarize the key takeaways, use food-grade containers only, preferably opaque ones. If your water isn't from a treated municipal source, disinfect it with bleach. Store it in a cool, dark place with a stable temperature. And finally, rotate your supply at least once a year.